All 7 of us are yours, said the beautiful daughter of his dead neighbor. The twin sons of Red Mesa 9 were slowly falling toward the horizon when Cole Harland guided his hoverhorse along the edge of the canyon. Dust drifted across the open plains, glowing orange under the fading light. The world was quiet in a way only frontier planets could be. No city noise, no traffic in the sky, only wind and distant animal calls. Cole preferred it that way. Years ago, he had flown through star systems as a pilot, moving cargo between crowded spaceports and dangerous asteroid routes. Now he lived alone on a small ranch far from anyone who might recognize him. Solar fences surrounded his land, protecting grazing energy cattle that fed on sunlight and mineral dust. The ranch was simple, but it gave him peace. As he reached the ridge overlooking his property, a sudden flash tore across the sky. A streak of fire burned through the clouds, followed by a loud rumble that shook the ground beneath him. Cole stopped instantly. A ship was falling. He watched as the damaged transport spun out of control before disappearing behind a line of rocky hills just beyond his boundary markers. Seconds later, an explosion echoed across the desert, sending birds into the air. He sighed quietly. Trouble always came from the sky. Turning his hoverhorse, he rode toward the crash site. The terrain was rough, scattered with broken stone and old mining equipment left from earlier settlers. As he approached, smoke rose into the sky like a dark signal. The transport lay half buried in sand, its hull cracked open like a broken shell. Sparks flickered along exposed wiring. The ship looked old but advanced, not something a normal traveler would use for simple transport. Cole dismounted slowly, hand resting near the blaster at his belt. Years of experience had taught him to expect danger after any crash. Smugglers, raiders, or desperate travelers could all bring problems. He stepped closer. 7 figures stood near the wreck. They were young women dressed in simple but unusual clothing that reflected light in soft metallic patterns. Dust clung to their boots, but they stood calm and steady, watching him approach. None held weapons. The tallest stepped forward. Cole recognized her face immediately. Lyra, she had lived on the neighboring property with her father, Dr. Hale, a quiet scientist who rarely visited town. Hale had died suddenly a month earlier, leaving his land empty. Cole had attended the small funeral, standing silently at the edge of the crowd. Seeing Lyra here felt impossible. Before he could speak, she lowered her head slightly. "All 7 of us are yours," she said. The words hung in the air like something heavy. Cole blinked, confused. "No," he said quickly, shaking his head. "Nobody belongs to anyone. Start again." The other women exchanged glances. Some looked nervous, others curious. Lyra seemed calm, as if she expected his reaction. "We followed Dr. Hale's final instructions," she said. "He told us to find you." Cole studied them carefully. Something about their movements felt precise, almost too balanced, as if every step had been calculated. Yet their expressions were soft and uncertain. "What happened to your ship?" he asked. "We were pursued," Lyra replied. "Navigation systems failed during escape. Emergency landing was the only option." Cole glanced at the sky. No other ships were visible, but that meant little. Anyone tracking them could still arrive. He walked around the wreck, checking damage. The engine core was ruined, and the communications array had been destroyed. Whoever chased them had wanted to make sure they could not call for help. "Who's after you?" he asked. Lyra hesitated. "Those who made us." The answer felt colder than the desert wind. She explained slowly. She and the others had been created in a hidden research facility. Dr. Hale had helped them escape years ago, hiding them on this remote world. He raised them quietly, teaching them language, survival, and choice. Before he died, he programmed their ship with one final destination, Cole Harland. Cole frowned. "Why me?" "Because you protect people without expecting anything," she said simply. He laughed once, but there was no humor in it. "You don't know me. We know what Dr. Hale told us." The silence stretched between them. Cole felt uncomfortable under their gaze. He had chosen isolation for a reason. Responsibility was something he avoided. A faint buzzing sound interrupted his thoughts. He looked up. 3 small drones moved across the sky, barely visible against the clouds. They hovered briefly before changing direction toward the crash site. "Inside the ship," he said immediately. "Now." The women obeyed without hesitation. Cole activated a signal jammer from his belt, hoping to scramble scans long enough to leave. The drones circled once, then disappeared into the distance. "They found us," one of the women whispered. Cole nodded. They'll be back, and next time it won't be drones. He looked at Lyra again. I'm not your owner, he said firmly, but you can stay at my ranch tonight. After that, we figure something else out. Relief crossed her face. They gathered what supplies they could carry and followed him across the desert. The walk back felt longer than usual. The sisters moved quietly, watching everything with careful interest. The way wind shaped the sand, the distant movement of grazing animals, the faint hum of solar fences. When they reached the ranch, warm light glowed from the main house. The place was simple: metal walls, wooden porch, and an old wind generator turning slowly nearby. Cole opened the door. This is not a palace, he said, just a ranch. It is safe, Lyra replied. Inside, the women explored cautiously. One examined the kitchen tools with fascination, another studied the wall filled with old star maps. A third paused near a faded photograph of a younger Cole standing beside a starship. You flew, she said quietly. Long time ago, he answered. He prepared simple food, bread, vegetables, and stew. The sisters watched carefully before eating, as if learning the process. As night settled outside, the ranch felt strangely alive. For years, silence had been his only companion. Now voices filled the room. Cole stepped onto the porch alone, looking at the sky. Stars began to appear one by one. Trouble was coming. He could feel it. Behind him, Lyra joined him quietly. You are worried, she said. I don't know what you expect from me, he replied. We expect nothing, she said gently. Only the chance to choose our own path. He nodded slowly. Far away, lightning flashed on the horizon, not from a storm, but from engines entering the atmosphere. The hunters had arrived. And Cole understood that his quiet life had just ended. Morning came slowly to Red Mesa 9, painting the desert in shades of gold and red. The twin suns rose above the horizon, warming the metal roof of Cole Harlan's ranch house. Normally, mornings were quiet for him. He would wake early, drink coffee alone, and begin checking fences before the heat grew strong. Today was different. Voices filled the house. Soft footsteps moved across the floor. The 7 sisters were already awake, exploring their new surroundings with careful curiosity. Cole stood at the kitchen counter, watching them silently as he prepared breakfast. One of them examined a broken farm tool, studying it as if solving a puzzle. Another stood near the window, observing the grazing solar cattle outside. They moved with calm coordination, almost like a team trained for years. Yet small details revealed their unfamiliarity with ordinary life. One sister held a mug incorrectly, trying to understand how to drink from it without spilling. You can relax, Cole said, placing plates on the table. No one's chasing you this second. Lyra smiled slightly. Observation is part of our learning. He nodded but did not comment further. He felt responsible for their safety already, though he had promised himself he would not become involved. After breakfast, he led them outside. The ranch spread across a wide stretch of land bordered by rocky cliffs and old solar towers. Hover fences hummed quietly, marking safe zones for the animals. This is where I work, he said. You stay inside the fences unless I say otherwise. Desert looks peaceful, but it hides trouble. The sisters listened carefully. One asked, Are we helping you? You don't owe me anything, he answered quickly. Lyra exchanged a glance with the others. Dr. Hale said cooperation builds trust. Cole sighed. Fine, just don't touch anything that glows or makes noise. The day passed with unexpected energy. One sister repaired a broken water pump within minutes, something that had bothered Cole for weeks. Another analyzed soil patterns and suggested better irrigation angles. Even the animals seemed calmer around them. Cole tried not to show how impressed he was. Still, the feeling of danger stayed in his mind. He scanned the sky often, searching for movement. Near midday, a small transport vehicle approached from the distant town. Cole recognized it instantly, Mara Reyes, a trader who visited occasionally to exchange supplies. She stepped out of her vehicle, eyes narrowing when she saw unfamiliar faces. You starting a colony now? She joked. Cole shrugged. Guests. Mara looked at Lyra closely. They don't look like normal settlers. They're not, he admitted. Her smile faded slightly. You heard about the bounty hunters asking questions in town? His stomach tightened. What kind? Corporate type, heavy gear, no smiles, asking about a crash last night. Cole glanced at Lyra. The sisters watched silently. Thanks for the warning, he said. Mara lowered her voice. You sure you want trouble on your land, Cole? You walked away from that life for a reason. He didn't answer. After she left, tension settled over the ranch. The sisters gathered near him, waiting for instructions without realizing they were doing so. "You're not soldiers," he said. "We defend each other," one replied. He looked at the horizon again. Dust moved strangely in the distance, not natural wind, but engines disturbing the sand. "They're coming sooner than I hoped," he muttered. He activated old defense systems hidden around the ranch. Turrets rose slowly from the ground, their metal surfaces coated with years of dust. The sisters watched with interest. "You prepared for attack," Lyra said. "Frontier rule," he replied. "Expect trouble even when things look calm." As afternoon turned into evening, a long shadow crossed the sky. A dark shuttle descended slowly, stopping just outside the boundary fence. Cole stepped forward, hand near his blaster. 3 figures exited the shuttle, dressed in black armor with glowing insignias. Their movements were precise, confident. One raised a device that projected a holographic symbol. "We are here for corporate property," the leader announced calmly. "Return the 7 units and no harm will come to you." Cole's jaw tightened. "No property here, just people." The leader tilted his head slightly. "You misunderstand. They are experimental assets belonging to Helix Systems. You are currently obstructing recovery operations." Lyra stepped beside Cole. "We will not return," she said. The leader's expression hardened. "Noncompliance noted." The air grew heavy. Cole spoke quietly to the sisters. "Stay behind me." But instead, they spread out slightly, forming a defensive line. The first shot came without warning. A blast struck one of the fence posts, sending sparks into the air. Cole reacted instantly, firing back. The ranch's turrets activated, forcing the attackers to retreat toward their shuttle. The fight lasted only minutes, but it felt longer. When the shuttle finally pulled away, silence returned, broken only by the hum of damaged equipment. "They were testing us," Cole said. "Next time they won't be polite." One sister looked shaken. "We brought danger to you." "You didn't," he replied firmly. "Danger comes whether you invite it or not." Night fell again, darker than before. They gathered inside the house, planning quietly. Cole realized hiding would not work forever. Lyra spoke gently. "Dr. Hale believed you would help us choose our future." Cole stared at the old star maps on the wall. For years he had avoided looking at them. "You said your ship can't fly," he said slowly. "Yes." He nodded toward the far canyon. "There's another ship," he said. "Hidden, old cargo vessel, haven't touched it in years." The sisters looked at him with surprise. "If we stay here, they'll keep coming," he continued. "Out there, we might have a chance." Lyra's eyes brightened slightly. "You will leave the ranch," he hesitated. Outside, distant engine sounds echoed faintly in the night sky. "They're not giving us a choice," he said quietly. For the first time in years, Cole Harland felt the pull of the stars again, and he knew his quiet life on the frontier was ending faster than he expected. The desert night felt heavier than usual. A cold wind moved across the ranch, carrying dust and distant engine echoes. Cole Harland stood on the porch, looking toward the canyon where his hidden ship rested beneath layers of rock and old camouflage nets. Leaving had never been part of his plan. For years, this ranch had been his escape from the chaos of space. Out there were memories he tried to forget, lost friends, dangerous missions, and choices he regretted. But now the past had returned, wearing new faces and bringing 7 lives into his responsibility. Behind him, the sisters gathered quietly. They sensed the change in him. "We are ready," Lyra said softly. Cole nodded once. "Then we move fast. Hunters will come back before sunrise." They packed only what they could carry. Tools, water packs, navigation equipment, and emergency supplies. The ranch house looked strangely empty as they prepared to leave. Cole paused briefly, running his hand across a wooden table scratched with years of use. He did not allow himself to feel too much. Outside, hover steeds waited, engines humming softly. The group rode across the desert toward the canyon, keeping low to avoid detection. Twin moons cast pale light over the landscape, turning rocks into dark shapes. One sister broke the silence. "Will you return here someday?" Cole did not answer immediately. "Maybe," he said finally, "if there's something left to return to." They reached the canyon just before midnight. Hidden between cliffs was an old cargo ship, its metal hull covered in dust and faded paint. It looked tired but strong, like something that had survived many storms. The sisters stopped, watching with quiet awe. "You flew this?" one asked. "Long time ago," Cole replied. He approached the entrance ramp and activated the power panel. Lights flickered slowly to life, illuminating the interior with soft blue glow. The ship's systems responded slowly, as if waking from a long sleep. Inside, the air smelled of metal and memory. Cole moved through the cockpit with familiar steps, checking controls and navigation panels. His hands hesitated slightly before touching the pilot's seat. Sitting there again felt strange, like stepping into an old version of himself. "You okay?" Lyra asked gently. "I forgot how quiet space felt," he said. The sisters spread out, exploring the ship carefully. One examined the engine core, another checked communication systems. Their teamwork was smooth, almost natural. Within an hour, the ship was ready. "Everyone strapped in," Cole said. "Launch might be rough." Engines roared to life, echoing through the canyon. Dust lifted into the air as the cargo ship slowly rose from the ground. For a moment, the ranch world stretched below them, red deserts, glowing fences, and the small house where Cole had spent years hiding. Then the stars opened above. The ship broke through the atmosphere, leaving Red Mesa 9 behind. Silence filled the cockpit as space surrounded them, endless darkness dotted with distant lights. One sister pressed her hand against the window, eyes wide. "It is beautiful." Cole allowed himself a small smile. "We're not safe yet," he said. "Hunters will track us. We need to move unpredictable." He guided the ship toward an asteroid field, using rocks and debris as cover. His movements became confident again, old instincts returning naturally. The sisters watched him with growing respect. During the journey, they began talking more openly. Without the ranch's safety, emotions surfaced more easily. "We said we were yours," Lyra said quietly while standing beside him in the cockpit, "but we did not mean ownership." "I know," he replied. "Still sounds strange." "It means we trusted you to lead when we did not know how." Cole thought about that. Leadership had once defined him, but losing people had made him step away. Now these 7 looked at him with hope rather than expectation. It felt different. An alarm suddenly sounded. "Ship approaching," one sister called from the sensors. A sleek black vessel appeared on the display, moving fast. "They tracked us already," Cole muttered. He pushed the engines harder, weaving through the asteroid field. Rocks spun around them as the enemy ship fired warning shots. Energy blasts lit the darkness. "Hold on," he said. The cargo ship rolled sharply, slipping between 2 massive asteroids. The maneuver was risky but effective. The enemy ship followed but struggled with the tight turns. One sister moved beside him. "Can we help?" "Watch sensors," he said. "Call obstacles." They worked together, voices calm despite the danger. The teamwork felt natural, like a crew that had flown together for years. Finally, Cole made a sudden dive into a narrow gap filled with drifting debris. The enemy ship hesitated, slowing down to avoid collision. Using the moment, Cole cut engines and drifted silently behind a large rock. They waited. Minutes passed. The enemy ship searched nearby but eventually moved away, losing their signal. Relief spread through the cabin. "You did it," one sister said with excitement. "We survived," Cole corrected gently. After the danger passed, the mood changed. The sisters began sharing stories about their time with Dr. Hale, how he taught them music, cooking, and simple jokes despite their unusual origins. Cole listened quietly, realizing they were not just creations or experiments. They were people learning how to live. Lyra stood near the window again, watching stars pass slowly. "What happens next?" she asked. Cole stared at the navigation screen. He could run forever, but that would not end the threat. "We find who's chasing you," he said, "and we stop them." The decision surprised even him. The sisters looked at each other, hope shining in their eyes. For the first time since leaving the ranch, Cole felt something change inside him. He was no longer running away from his past. He was moving toward something new. Outside the ship, the stars stretched endlessly ahead. And somewhere in that darkness waited the people who wanted to control the sisters' future. The cargo ship moved slowly through deep space, hidden between drifting asteroids. The engines stayed low to avoid detection, and only soft lights filled the cockpit. Cole Harland sat in the pilot's chair, watching the navigation display while thinking carefully about their next move. Running had helped them survive so far, but it could not last forever. The sisters gathered nearby, waiting for his decision. Over the past days, they had grown more confident, speaking openly and sharing ideas. They were no longer just following instructions, they were choosing together. "They will keep searching," Lyra said quietly. "We cannot hide forever." Cole nodded. You're right, if we want peace, we end this at the source. One of the sisters brought up a holographic map. We traced their signal during the last chase. It leads to an orbital research station near a dying star. Cole studied the image. The station looked massive, covered in docking arms and defense systems. He recognized the design, corporate territory built for secrecy and control. That's where they made you, he said. Yes, Lyra replied, and where others like us may still be trapped. Silence filled the room. The decision became clear without anyone saying it aloud. They would not just escape, they would go back. The journey took several days. During that time, the sisters trained together, learning ship operations and defensive tactics. Cole taught them what he knew about space travel, how to read star currents, how to predict enemy movement, how to stay calm under pressure. In return, they helped repair parts of the ship that had been damaged during the chase. The cargo vessel slowly transformed into something stronger, ready for a final mission. As they approached the dying star, its light burned red across the hull. The research station appeared ahead, floating like a metal city against the dark sky. Defense drones circled around it. Cole took a deep breath. Once we start this, no turning back. We are ready, Lyra said. Instead of attacking directly, they used a smarter plan. One sister had discovered a communication frequency used by the corporation. Another created a digital signal that allowed them to slip past outer defenses unnoticed. The ship docked quietly on a lower maintenance level. Inside the station, long corridors stretched endlessly, filled with cold white light. The air felt heavy with control and silence. The sisters walked carefully beside Cole, their expressions serious. They passed through locked doors using codes recovered from their own memories. Each step felt like walking through their past. In one chamber, they found rows of empty pods, places where experiments had once been held. The sight made the sisters pause. We were created here, one whispered. Cole placed a hand gently on her shoulder. You're more than where you started. They continued deeper into the station until alarms suddenly sounded. Unauthorized presence detected. Security teams began moving toward them. Cole led them into a control room overlooking the station's core systems. Instead of destroying anything, they activated a broadcast signal. What are you doing? One sister asked. Ending this without becoming what they expect, he said. Together, they uploaded data showing the corporation's illegal experiments and crimes. The broadcast spread across open networks, sending evidence to authorities and independent systems throughout the galaxy. Outside, security forces hesitated as outside fleets began responding to the signal. The corporation's leader appeared on a holographic screen, anger clear in his expression. You think exposing us will save you? He said coldly. You belong to us. Lyra stepped forward. We belong to ourselves. Cole stood beside her, calm and steady. And that's something you can't take. Moments later, warning lights flashed across the station. External fleets arrived, forcing the corporation's ships to retreat. The balance of power shifted quickly. Time to go, Cole said. They ran back toward the cargo ship, avoiding remaining guards and closing doors behind them. As they launched, the dying star's red light filled the cockpit, creating a dramatic glow. Behind them, authorities moved to secure the station. Silence returned once they entered open space again. The sisters looked at each other, realizing the chase was finally over. You gave us freedom, one said softly. Cole shook his head. You took it yourselves, I just helped. Their journey led them back toward frontier space. Weeks later, the cargo ship descended once again onto Red Mesa 9. The ranch stood exactly as they had left it, quiet, waiting. Stepping onto the ground felt different this time. The air carried a sense of new beginning rather than escape. Some sisters decided they wanted to explore the galaxy, now that they were truly free. Others chose to stay, helping rebuild the ranch into a safe place for travelers and lost souls. The lonely house filled with laughter and movement. Solar fences were repaired, gardens planted, and new stories began forming under the twin suns. One evening, Cole stood on the porch watching the sunset when Lyra joined him. You could leave again, she said gently. Return to the stars. He considered it. I spent years running from who I was, he replied. Maybe now I choose where I belong, she smiled. We never meant ownership, she said quietly. When we said we were yours, we meant trust. Cole looked across the wide desert, now filled with life and possibility. For the first time in years, he did not feel alone. The frontier still stretched endlessly beyond the horizon, full of unknown paths and new adventures. But now, whatever came next, he would face it not as a lone cowboy escaping the past, but as someone who had found a new family among the stars. And under the twin suns of Red Mesa 9, the future felt wide open.